Okay, so today's video is going to be called A Man's Role in a Marriage. Okay, this is what we're called to do. Now there's a Proverbs 30 woman video I made. You can watch that if you want, but this is about what God calls us to do when we are married. We look back at the Garden of Eden when Adam was first made. God made him first, right? And put him in charge. He said, take care of the garden. And so he did, and he said, take care of the animals. And when he did, he brought the animals to Adam and he named them. But God seen there was no helpmate that was worthy of being with the man. So he said, I will make him one. And so he put Adam into a deep sleep, took a rib from his side, closed him up, and he made Eve. So that shows that women are not lesser. They're supposed to be side by side, equal. But God called the man to lead, and we're supposed to lead churches. There's videos on other people that get into arguments and debates over it, but I truly believe men should lead. Women can teach, do other stuff, but I think women leading a church as a pastor or as, somebody like that in that kind of position, I don't think it should be. That's Paul, that's the Bible, and that's because men are supposed to. Now, the reason there are female pastors that step up and lead churches is because men have gotten weak. Men step down and they let the women take over. And that's the same with in a marriage. As a man, you are to be the pursuer when you're going through the courting, okay? You plan the dates. You pursue the woman, and then you marry her. But after that, it doesn't stop. See, when you're married, you still have to be a leader. She's still looking to you to lead like you did when you were dating, right? And women are supposed to be submissive and obedient to their husbands. But if you're not submitted to Christ and are a masculine man, she's not going to respect you. Now, this doesn't mean you're authoritarian and you just start throwing your weight around and, you're my, well, that means you're my slave, you got to do this, you got to do that. You're not a slave, she is a helpmate. She's there to help you, not serve you. Okay? You are to serve her as the man, right? And that doesn't mean you're a doormat and, let it walk all over, but as a man, God holds you accountable as leader of your family or a leader in a church or a teacher. But especially in a marriage, you are held accountable. When Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, God came looking for them, right? And what did they do? They hid. But who did he call out to first? He said, Adam, where are you? He once more confronted the man. Then Adam, instead of being a man and saying, I failed in the task you gave me, I let my wife eat the fruit, I failed. Instead, he throws blame on her, right? And then she blames the devil, who was a serpent that tempted her and told her to eat the fruit, basically tempted her, and she did, but they didn't take responsibility for their choices. And as a man in a marriage, you have to take full responsibility. I'm a foreman at work. As you know, a while ago, I got bumped up to that position. And I had to learn as part of leadership, everything is your fault, okay? The people under you, if they screw up, that's your fault. That's either your neglect of not properly training them, seeing that they're, going through taking the right precautions, or they're just not performing to the adequate tasks. That comes back on you. Because as a lead, you are to set the example. You are to, lead the people. And same within a marriage. As a man, if you want her to be a traditional stay-at-home, wife, if that's what you want, right, you're going to have to work twice as hard, okay, as a man, to provide nowadays. The economy's not set up for you almost need two incomes to survive. And with it, as a man, if you want her to be a stay-at-home wife, then you better be willing to work 2 jobs or work twice as hard or work your job during the day and have like a job at night, but you don't want to work too much. But you want to work enough to balance it. And then it's another whole thing, balancing finances. I am against the whole 2 accounts. Her money, his money. When you're married, you become one, it says in the Bible, okay? And that means everything the other has becomes yours. What she has is yours, and what you have is hers. Your funds are combined. If she has any outstanding debt, you inherit that outstanding debt. If he has any outstanding debt, you inherit that when you marry him, right? Because you're together. You're one. And you're supposed to share the responsibilities. And as a man, you lead, but she is supposed to submit and follow. But she's to support you. Now, there's all sorts of it. I made videos on it. I can go into whole details on how a marriage should be, but it's different, and it's different for people. But as a man, you're called leading. If say you mess up, okay, and your wife does, something, or she starts taking control and you let her, that's on you. And if something goes wrong, God is going to hold you accountable because you are the man, you are the leader. And that's why to be a lead, I think you have to gain experience doing that. At church, at your job, or whatever, before you get married, you should be, taking these lead roles and getting yourself built for that. Because being a leader is completely different. Mine at work happened, like I said, out of nowhere. I walked in one morning, he said, "You're in charge." So, I'm like, okay. And I've done a pretty good job of navigating it, and I have a lot of, you guys have another foreman, another guy that's over me, and then we work together and we run it pretty good. But as a husband, you will have to keep your wife in check. Doesn't mean you're, like I said, cruel, but you have to talk about stuff. If, say she wants, this is an example, say she wants something, like a couch, okay? And we know couches are quite expensive or whatever, Then you have to say, okay, then we're going to have to go without this, you compromise here. It's a give and take. She wants the, new couch or whatever. Okay, then we can't go on this trip that we have planned in a year or two until the couch is paid off. Or if you go on this big trip, you can't get a new couch until you pay off that trip, right? See, it's compromise. You have to balance it. And she also has to be wise. Now, see, my Grampy and Grammy are old school. They've been together 60-some years, and they share their money. What's hers is his, and what is his is hers. And they have that down to where neither of them really have their own money. It's all the money that keeps the house going. Grampy balances out the bills, stuff, and Grammy, takes care of the house, as is supposed to be. They have what's called a traditional marriage. And my Grampy, he runs the house, and my grandmother, his wife, submits to him, and they have a very godly marriage. But he's also not authoritative. He's not constantly belittling her and beating her down. She's not constantly arguing and nitpicking at him for every little thing, right? That's where a marriage starts struggling. You have to have good communication. You have to communicate to each other. If there's a disagreement, maybe take 10, 15 minutes or whatever, calm down a bit between two of you so you don't say something stupid. Take a break. Go to God, read your Bible, pray, and just calm down a bit. Then you come back, and then you talk. But as a man, you have to lead. When they say, like you ask her, where do we want to eat supper, right? For an example. She says, oh, I don't know, you pick. Okay, and you pick, and then she says, oh, well, I don't want to eat there. Well, that is where she's testing you, okay, to see if you are going to be the man she wants you to be. Are you going to tell her, no, we're going to eat there anyways because that's where we're eating. I'm choosing it. And she will submit and follow. But see, you have to take that initiative. Women want to be led, right? They want a man that's going to step up, provide for them and their children, but they also want somebody that's going to tell them what to do, because as a man, you have to do that. Now, some women may not like it, but a lot of them, they like it. That's why they like the douchebags, the guys that don't care. Because they're a guy, they know that they can't control, and they find that attractive. But as a man, her husband, you have to be willing to lead, but don't be a complete, D-bag about it, okay? Don't, control every aspect of her life. You have to be submitted to God. And then when you're submitted to God, you can lead her effectively and your children. And teaching the Bible, that is your sole responsibility as the lead in a godly marriage. You have to instruct your wife and kids on the Bible. If they come to you with questions, you answer them. If you can't answer them, you go and find the answers from your pastor or whoever, and then you answer the questions, right? But it is your job to instill that Bible stuff into them. Okay, that is your job as a man. As a man, we have a ton of responsibilities, but so does she. I can make a whole other video on what she's supposed to do. But if you want a traditional stay-at-home wife, you're going to have to work extremely hard. And as a man's role, you have to be a lead. You can look around. What happens when weak men get into power? Look at the situation in Canada and the States right now. Weak men got into power. Country is struggling. People are in recessions, and it is very hard because weak men step down, right? The weak men got control because the strong men stepped down. Now, in a marriage, if you're not a strong masculine man submitted to God, right, and you're not doing what you're supposed to, then your wife is going to take over if you let her. Like, if you slowly belittle yourself down and you let control slip, she's going to take over. Now, does that mean you're controlling everything? No. But you are effectively leading. If you don't, in a marriage, one person's going to lead. If it's not you, it's going to be your wife. Okay? And that's the way it is. But God has always wanted us to lead, and that's our role. But as a man, you also have responsibilities, right? If something happens, that's your fault. If she screws up real bad or something, she made the choice, yeah, but it's still your responsibility, and God will hold you accountable for that because you are supposed to be the leader. You are the man. You are supposed to guide her. Now, does that mean that everything's your fault? No. There has to be, you have to communicate is the main thing in a marriage. Okay, my grandpa and Grammy, they communicate. They have disagreements. They talk it out. Okay? That's what you have to do. Don't let something fester and grow, and then it's a big argument. But that's a man's role. We're called to be leaders, and you can look in the Bible, and you can even look at what Paul says a man is supposed to do, even what Jesus is supposed to do, and you can read that. And you'll see all the responsibilities we have to do. But if you want to lead effectively, you have to get the experience. That's why I said, step up and lead a prayer group if you have the chance. Or at your church, if they ask, will you lead us in prayer? Step up and accept that, right? And if you have any chance to lead, even at work, take that chance. Because as a young man, if you build yourself now with leadership skills, when you get married, you will have a good groundwork because you're submitted to Christ. You've led. You'll be able to lead effectively. Hope this helped clear up some of the stuff about what you're supposed to do in a marriage as a lead and a man's role. If you want, you can type down below, and I can make one about a woman's role in a marriage, which is going to be, if that's something you're interested in, I'll make one. But other than that, this has been A Voice in the Wilderness, a soldier, bondservant of Christ, signing off. Whenever you see this, have a blessed day or night. Stay safe in these dark and crazy times, and I will see you in the next one.